Chris, somebody on my YouTube channel commented that I should not wear a hat because I'm neither a little boy nor a professional athlete. And so I responded that my dermatologist makes me wear it outdoors so I don't get skin cancer. Do you think is that the best response I could have made, or do you think I could have given them a more dickish response than that?
I think you just should have said, actually, I am a professional athlete, and just let him do his, go into the rabbit hole of researching this. Were at one point you ever a professional athlete? Is this true? I mean, what does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
We're business builders. We're professional athletes at building and scaling companies, which takes blood, sweat, and tears, my friends. No, I think the key is just, you got to double down and do a hat on every single video now.
One of the ideas I've had, because I have to pay like $1,200, $1,500 per video to get them edited and produced. It's not like people are like, oh yeah, it's just you walking in a forest with a camera. Well, it turns out the difference between that finished product and getting it to YouTube, it like requires somebody to spend a week on it, editing it down. And so I've been debating actually letting people having like a custom hat per video and letting people sponsor my hat. So
yeah,
that's the extent of that idea. So here's something I was thinking about this morning. I want to get your thoughts on it. I am really struggling, especially on Twitter now, with people who are serious people having discussions involving non-serious people. And here's an example. So your everybody's favorite SPAC king Chamath went in and wrote this whole thing about how his software agency is unable to sell to PE companies, which therefore the PE company operators must be morons. Like that was his whole pitch.
Right.
And there are several PE guys, which is a new thing on Twitter, like literally having serious conversations on there, which I think is terrific, right? Like those guys know a lot of stuff. They're super smart, and it's good to see them expose that industry. But I see several of them treating that stuff, the kind of the getting the lack of insight thing from Chamath, treating it seriously and having like a serious discussion about it. And I'm really struggling to find the motivation to participate in serious discussions that involve non-serious people or non-serious topics. So how do you feel about this?
Well, it's difficult because I feel like I never know whether, if people are commenting or reposting Chamath or Tai Lopez, I'm not sure if they're doing it because Chamath and Tai Lopez have like 1 million followers, and some of those people are probably relevant. And so if you say something thoughtful to a person that just happens to have a large account, you're going to, get impressions, at least, maybe not followers anymore, because the algo like hates sending people new followers. So I'm always unsure of like, are these people in on it and they're just trying to be thoughtful and say, hey, Chamath's fund probably has some LPs that could also be LPs in my fund. I have no idea. I think you're probably right. It's probably 20% of people who are just doing it to, be part of the algo. And then it's 80% of people who I think either just believe that Chamath is sort of a credible voice in the space, and or just don't know really who he is or his history with SPACing companies and driving them all to zero. I don't know.
Yeah, I just had a transatlantic flight, and I downloaded a number of like expose videos where people were talking about some of his stuff, and I was like, oh, like this is just rough.
He's back. He's back with another SPAC, by the way. I saw that. That must mean something that we're top of the market again, right?
I guess so. There have been a couple of them, like Anthony Pompliano did one, which I think they just turned right around and did like a Bitcoin custody startup, basically Bitcoin treasury startup. So I mean, I'll give something to Pomp. Like, dude's consistent. He stays on message. Like, you gotta respect that. Like, So pretty
It's
serious.
actually, it's, he was the funny thing about Pomp, and I know him. I wouldn't say we are friendly with each other. We're not friends. We don't ever like hang out together, but I've met him a couple times. Has always been very kind to me. So this is not speaking on his businesses, but like he wasn't even that early to Bitcoin. I think he like admitted he bought his first Bitcoin in like 2017. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, and that didn't even feel that early. So like it was years late to the trend, but it was still early enough. And then he's been consistent with all of the like crypto. The government hates you. The only way out is by investing in Bitcoin. And then he's just bought a lot of it. He's invested in a ton of companies around the space, some of which have blown up in his face very publicly. Others have done, I think, fantastically well. I don't know. I think he's playing up the like Sahil Bloom shtick of like kind of everyman advice and news within the crypto industry, so he gets a lot of flack for that. But I think he's built like a crazy business, both on the investor side and the media side. So kudos to him.
I'm with you. Like he's been totally nice to me every time I've interacted with him, and he's like Twitter DM friend. That's
Yep.
the way I would describe him. So
Yeah.
no harsh words at all for him. So
there are much more important people to pick on. If you're going to go pick on Pomp, you got to redirect your energy to someone else, I think.
How do you feel about the Ty Lopez stuff?
I mean, that was it was one of those things where I had so many different tweets of like, I think the most shocking thing. So the SEC, for those who don't know, I think the SEC indicted Ty Lopez and his business partner or partners with this like, what was that, $140 million Ponzi scheme. And I think, there's moments in my life where I think about, maybe should I raise a fund? Should I, do XYZ? And, could I get people to give me $50 million, $100 million? I think the answer is yes, because Ty Lopez found people who would give him hundreds of millions of dollars. If you are writing a check to Ty Lopez, or you are investing in one of his public shitcos with, your retail E-Trade or Robinhood account, and you don't expect that you are investing in fraud, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, there should be no severance paid. Like, yes, he should probably do jail time. He shouldn't have to pay back anybody. If you invest in Lamborghini Man, you know exactly what you're getting, and you got it. Congrats.
Hot take number one. If you invest in Lamborghini, you know what I like more than this Lamborghini? Books. It was just so good when he first did that.
It's one of those frustrating things where there were a few moments, speaking of the like making less credible people credible. Ty Lopez was on several of my friends' podcasts. Several. Okay. This is like circa 2021, 2022.
Right.
And it was so divisive because it was like the reaction from, I remember when he went on like My First Million, the reaction was so split, where it was like, I think Sam and Sean were both doing a lot of like defense around why they were having him on. And just everybody in the comments was like, this dude's a scam artist. He's a grifter. He's taking advantage of people that don't understand like how businesses work. He's buying Dillards and then applying like a blockchain strategy to it. Like, this guy is a fraud. And so their response was sort of like, look, he has a huge following, which is true. Therefore, he's going to be good to the pod. He's going to be, driving a ton of views on something, and it's up to him. Like, we're going to push him on all this stuff, all the allegations and accusations. And I don't know. I think it was like, now clearly it was a bad look, but it's one of those things where it just, sometimes these fraudulent actors just take years or decades to play out, even though anybody with like common sense can see, this guy's full of shit. I don't know.
Well, before we segue to something else, would you like to know about Quo?
What's Quo?
Quo. Well, Quo last week, or it was 2 weeks ago now, since we were out last week, had some big news. They are the company formerly known as OpenPhone, and it's the same powerful phone system, but with a new name. And if you're still running your business on a clunky old system, this is the perfect time to make the switch to Quo. Business owners know when you miss a call, you're not just missing a conversation, you're losing revenue. And Quo is the modern alternative designed to help you work smarter, build stronger relationships, and never miss an opportunity. And with Quo, Chris, you get one flexible app on your phone or computer, run your business from anywhere. You can text clients, record calls, and get AI summaries, and it integrates with tools like HubSpot and Slack to streamline your workflows and automations. You can also have Quo's AI agent answer after hours so you never miss a lead again. Quo is rated the #1 business phone system with 4.7 stars across 3,000 reviews on G2 and is trusted by not 10,000 businesses, Chris, not
20,000?
50,000 businesses. More. Keep going up.
85,000 businesses. It can't be more than
It's
85,000.
90,000 businesses. And
What?
I'm sure after this live stream, it'll be over 100.
Yeah.
So, and today, Quo is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/builders. That's quo.com/builders, which, by the way, I think is a genius URL, because usually when people sponsor my stuff, they do quo.com/Girdley or something like that, and nobody could spell it.
Right. People would do like Girdley or, yeah.
Nobody can spell it. But shockingly, everybody can pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it is, but I have rarely run across people these days who cannot pronounce it correctly the first time. Like when I was a kid, it happened all the time, but now like 100% of people, like they read it, they're like, okay, Mr. Girdley. Like we were in Europe and like some Finnish guy gets it right on the first time. I was like, this is amazing.
It's pretty good.
Okay. So if you have existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge, and Quo means no missed calls and no missed customers. So if you're interested and you are looking for a virtual phone system and more for your business, quo.com/builders. They would love to have you. Yeah. How many businesses do you have with Quo?
I have 6,000 or 7,000 with them. So it's just mostly, I think, our companies on. No, it's good that one thing that makes me happy is that they took a big risk in sponsoring this live stream, being our first ever sponsor, and so we're very grateful for that. And we hope to continue to work with them for a long time. But one thing that makes me happy is that despite dozens of my followers chiming in, the number of businesses using Quo is actually increasing and not decreasing because of this live stream. That would be bad if every time we did an ad read, it was like trusted by 70,000 businesses, trusted by 45,000 businesses, trusted by 15,000 businesses. At least the number's going up. Good for Quo.
So what else is new with you? You're still looking for your next thing? Have you figured it out yet?
No. Maybe the next thing is just it's like the Naval philosopher. It's like writing fortune cookie tweets and sprinkling a little bit of money on different projects and just you know what it is. It's that I'm sort of like I do think, I mean, I have been spending a few hours a week just incubating different projects and investing in friends' stuff, mostly who are doing like very early venture scale bets. The prices of everything are it's just I can't wrap my head around it. Like the prices of, even from 5 years ago, of starting a company, and like the default path now, if you go venture, needs to be, raising $10 million out of the gate, so you're not considered a serious player. And then when you need to go build out that team, whether you bootstrap it or do it with somebody else's money, you're talking $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year for engineers. Like, it's just like everything is so expensive. I haven't found an idea that I am that passionate or excited about that's like worth that kind of a bet. So, yeah.
How much of that do you think is a factor of of time? Because you're still pretty recent coming off of your last exit, and then spending time at Twitter headquarters. And then how much do you think of it as just a factor of when you find the right idea or run across the right opportunity, you'll be ready?
I think it's the latter. I think it's like, it's just going to take time to explore. And there's things that I get really excited about for a day. I think that means, probably I have more of a investor mindset these days than a founder mindset. I just get excited about a lot of different things, and I can't see myself going all in on one big thing for 5 or 10 years plus. I don't know. So, Yeah, it's the natural Silicon Valley path. You turn 35 and you have to hang up your founder hat if you haven't taken a company public and switch over to being an investor. That's the
Raise
law
a
here.
raise a VC fund from your friends.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I mean, and then you look up and some of these guys, you look up and they have like $500 million under management,
Yeah.
and it's like, whoa, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, there was a guy who I've never heard of who was on Invest with the Best a few months ago, and it was like so and so has 1.25 billion under management. I was like, huh? I mean, I do like a lot of startup investing. I've never once I don't think I've ever seen him on a cap table. He's in really good companies. I think he's just more like consumer than I am.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's crazy. I think Andreessen, what does Andreessen have now? Like 80 billion under management, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, when your venture fund gets so big that you acquire
yeah,
a media business to build out your marketing, that's you're not messing around. You guys
yeah.
are serious.
A media business that had, from what I've heard and seen, like actually like pretty legit revenue. Like they had, I don't know, 16 different podcasts. And I think several of those podcasts had six figures a year of ad spend. So it was a decent sized business. Like I don't think it was like a guy, I mean, Eric and his like newsletter business. It was like they bought a thing that was making millions and millions of dollars in revenue. So
I am shocked as I'm getting more into this media and paid kind of advertising space, what the numbers are that get thrown around.
yeah.
And like I got offered this morning, like my staff ran it by me. They're like, okay, for one of your videos, we got offered $6,000 if you'll make the video about this company.
Mm-hmm.
Just like straight up, like here's $6,000 cash. Like you're like, okay, well, $6,000, but like that is like what somebody working at Starbucks makes in a quarter, and all I have to do is record like a video for 30 minutes and then turn it over to an editor, and that's like just total like chicken feed compared to what say a Prof G or TBPN is asking for their stuff, right? Where an individual like Prof G, like issue of his podcast might make $100,000 in revenue, just
Mm-hmm.
like an insane amount with
Yeah.
6 different advertisers all paying for spots.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, well, it's become so incredibly noisy that just like that's the other thing about scaling companies, I think, is like you and I have this unique advantage of audience, and now audience on multiple different platforms across Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and other places. But it's like if you don't have that inherent like built-in following and audience that will just try new stuff that you put out into the world, yeah, you spend minimum like tens of thousands of dollars a month. I think if you're venture scale, trying to influence early users to use you. And I think for bigger companies, like the amount of money that like HubSpot and Notion throw around to people like us to like repost announcements and boost things and sponsor podcasts. HubSpot, if you're listening, you can have this logo for $80,000 a month. Um, you know, uh, Things like that. It's insane, but it totally makes sense. It's like, look, there's only so many opportunities to, if you are HubSpot or Notion or Quo or one of these companies that is trying to get in early as like an piece of like the infrastructure that these businesses get like built on and sort of scale with. There's probably 10,000 credible companies being built every year in the US.
Yep.
And so if they're trying to get in front of all 10,000, they got to just cover a lot of different newsletters and podcasts and live streams.
Well, it's testament to how much the conventional stuff just doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I just did a video on ESPN and how they're struggling, but at its core, it reminded me a lot of WeWork, which is you see this kind of fundamental shift where your liabilities are long-term liabilities,
Mhm.
and your receivables or your assets are short-term, right? So like WeWork's fundamental problem was they were taking in monthly rent from people with no contract, and they were signed up for long-term leases. Like, okay, like you can see the problem here
Mhm.
if this goes there. But other businesses are the same way, like they're really hard bad businesses. And I was sitting in a restaurant the other day and thinking that's exactly the same thing that restaurants go through. They sign these long-term leases, they have all these assets that are permanent, but their customers maybe show up one day and they don't show up the next. Like makes
Mhm.
it a really hard business. So anyway, ESPN had this amazing machine that would just print money because when there were 170 million people on cable systems, they got $8 to $10 per head per month, no matter what. And then they would turn around and leverage that cash flow to outbid everybody else to own must-see TV content, for NBA, NFL, all that kind of stuff. And don't quote me on this, but I think they paid their last deal was they paid $14 billion a year for Monday Night Football. Like that's like one game a week. And anyway, so and then ESPN's whole model, they started to spend all this crazy money in the early 2000s because if they ever ran out of money or weren't profitable enough, they would just tell the cable systems you have to pay more and just raise their fees. And the cable systems were stuck, and that's how cable ended up being $150 a month because 10 or 15% of it was going straight to ESPN. But like so ESPN and anybody else with eyeballs is dying because the cable subscribers have gone from 170 million to whatever, let's say 170 million to 100 million. And so operating leverage has just gone.
Yep.
So same thing with all these other folks. You can't you can't buy space in the newspaper. You have to, there's a perfect market in AdSense and all the advertising engines. You're going to get outbid, and Meta's got to make sure you pay the perfect price. And it's just really hard. It's really hard to get people's attention.
Yep. Yeah, as you're describing ESPN, I'm thinking that's kind of the same as like it's not that indifferent from a lot of these like wrapper companies, right? You're so reliant on, OpenAI and Facebook, Google for like advertising. And on the OpenAI side, even with really small companies, they'll sign, annual deals or multi-year deals where these are like consumer companies that are getting you and I to do, try our app for 7 days for free, and then it's $9.99 a month after that. And it's like these businesses are extremely tough. I was going to tweet, speaking of that like basically every wrapper company around like different AI layers
Wait, is
that I've
this like
tried.
Meek Mill opening up an AI company, a
Yeah,
rapper
they're
company?
terrible. They're all like worse. Like my like cycle in my fun employment is like trying lots of different apps and seeing if I find anything interesting. And occasionally I'll like DM the founder and put some money in early. But it's like 9 out of 10, it's like they just literally don't work, or they're like fundamentally worse than just using OpenAI.
Right.
And you'll look, and sometimes I catch them late, and it's like, oh, these guys just raised like a $21 million A. There was a consumer company that was like, scan anything in your house and like we'll upload it to eBay and like sort of sell it for you. And I had a new pair of pants in my office that I had just bought from Nordstrom, and I scanned them and it got the brand wrong, the size wrong. I then couldn't edit the size, and then it had trouble like connecting to eBay. I was like, this is like the biggest fucking
So
dumpster fire app I've ever seen. And this company had raised millions and millions of dollars, and it was like their big launch day. And I was like, how many people are having the same problems? It's all like trash, with a few exceptions. And yeah, the media stuff, like to your point about ESPN, I looked, they're paying like $2 billion a year, but they signed again this like multi-year deal through 2031, or 2033 actually. So they did this like 8-year deal. Wow, 2033 feels like decades away, and the fact that it's only 8
right.
years away is frightening. But yeah, so they did this like 8-year deal that was like 21 billion. That also gives ESPN the rights to broadcast 2 Super Bowl games in 2027 and 2031.
It's fascinating. The other video I did recently is NASCAR.
Hmm.
And the reason I thought about bringing that up is NASCAR. I don't know if you know this fact, but NASCAR in the early 2000s was the number 2 most watched televised sport in the United States.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
their viewership is totally cratered. Like they totally missed modern media. And but part of what got them so big, there were two things that they got incredibly lucky with. One is they were on broadcast TV in the 70s, and they would have races on Saturdays, right? And they were going to have the Daytona 500 on a Saturday, and there was a freak snowstorm in the United States, and everybody got trapped in their house in the Northeast. They couldn't go outside. And this like in 1979. And so the Daytona 500 runs, everybody has nothing else to do except sit in their house and watch, I think it was Richard Petty or something like that, win the Daytona 500. And it was a great race. And something like 16 million people in 1979 tuned in to watch this race. And like, okay, so that created a lot of fans. But then the thing that actually caused NASCAR to get so big was the rise of ESPN in the 80s. And they were like super desperate for content. So they were trying to fill up 24 hours a day. So they would do like a NASCAR in-depth show every night, like before Sports Center. And like they humanized the drivers, they like broke it all down. And so the rise of ESPN, because before that they literally were broadcasting like the World Series of women's softball on ESPN. That was the very first sports event ESPN covered when it was launched in the late 70s. But anyway, like ESPN basically launched NASCAR and made it so big. And then right at that, right in that early 2000s point, like NASCAR just totally screwed it up.
That's
totally
crazy.
lost the whole thing. But yeah, ESPN was totally the rise for it because it was just a perfect moment in time. They were desperate for content. So they made NASCAR a thing.
That's wild. It does. I was talking to somebody else about this. The whole idea that like in the 80s and 90s, people talk about this with like television and music. You had like a fixed number of TV stations and a fixed number of record labels, and then you also kind of had like in the States or in other countries, you had like a fixed number of like sports games that would meet the criteria to be televised. So it's like you're either a NASCAR fan or a football fan or basketball or baseball or a hockey fan, but you're not like watching a lot of golf or cycling or bowling or darts or like all these like skiing, all these like long tail sports that came about. And now when I talk to people like my friends, nobody my age cares that much about the NFL. I feel like people are like, oh, I only follow like college ball, or I like follow disc golf. And it's like, you follow disc golf?
Disc golf.
What? We have nothing to talk about. Like, I don't know anything about disc golf. And so I think as like with all these, with ESPN, the Ocho and like ESPN branching into, 10 different channels and sub channels, and Disney and ABC and NBC and all these different platforms like starting to do their own streaming of sports events and all trying to like make sports a thing. We have no like common ties. Like if you watch NASCAR in 2025, nobody else does that you're going to be like talking to in a room. And so I think that like building those fan bases, unless it's a super established fan base like the NFL or the NBA, is probably like really, really difficult.
Well, I will tell you why nobody watches NASCAR anymore. Do you want to know what their median age is for a viewer now for NASCAR?
Oh man, it's got to be. Well, I think the law of media, like with movies and music, is that you tend to like the stuff that you liked in college. So if you were in college then, like during the rise, I guess, like in the 80s, I'm going to say it's like mid 50s then.
Yeah, it's pushing towards the 63 is the number that comes to mind. Yeah. But it didn't have to be this way with NASCAR, because you look at Formula One.
Right.
And Formula One is actually killing it with women viewers and young people. Like it's the only sport that you can get that demographic.
Yep. Well, I mean, all the drivers are like 17, 19, 20.
Yeah.
They're young.
They're good looking. They are athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Formula One, I also did a video on that. These are all in editing, by the way. I was gone for a week. I just recorded videos and read about businesses. Formula One is fascinating because it all got bought by John Malone's company, Liberty Media, who like went and fixed it. and like understood the power of narrative, understood the power of modern media, understood the power of spectacle. Like basically you go to a Formula One now, it's like going to the Super Bowl, like that kind of money shows up. So it's pretty fascinating. But I think the answer for NASCAR is it didn't have to be that way.
Yep.
It did not have to end the way it is. But here's the last thing I'll tell you about NASCAR, which is a fascinating data point. So NASCAR in the early 2000s and even in the mid 2010s struggled like crazy to get people to stop bringing Confederate flags to the races.
I was going to say, there is before you even said that, I was going to make a joke. And if you're a NASCAR fan, it kind of signals you're. So I was right.
So NASCAR did finally ban the flags, I think in 2020 or 2021, which I told my wife this fact and she's like, what? It took like what? Like
they banned it like 100 years too late.
Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing? But their first attempt to get rid of the Confederate flag, imagery in the races was in 2015. And their grand idea was to have a voluntary flag trade-in program. You would bring in your Confederate flag, and then they would replace it with an American flag. There were some races that they had, race RACES, not racists. That comes up in a moment.
Yeah.
There were some races that they had where they offered this program, and there'd be like 200,000 people coming to the race, and they would exchange exactly 0 flags. Nobody would swap them out.
That's amazing.
It is great.
We need to have the person who in like 2015 was sitting at the booth and it's like, trade in your flag here. As like people are like, we need that guy's stories, has nothing to do with business building, but get that guy on the live stream,
So you can actually, you talk about the structure and who decided that was a good idea. Excuse me. You can actually trace back the entire failure of NASCAR to how they were structured. So a standard sports league like the NBA or NFL, the commissioner is a politician who works at the pleasure for the team owners, right? And that's who fires them. So if they want to, if they're going to stay, they have to keep the team owners happy, right? And the team owners, in theory, care a lot about the fans. NASCAR was actually set up that the teams didn't actually have much sway at all. It was controlled by one family, and the family had deals with all of the track owners. So it wasn't about like how can the fans and the teams get taken care of. It was about how do the tracks get taken care of. And you had this dictatorship run by a family. Eventually the son took it over and like they just ran it into the ground. Just total mistake after total mistake. But all because of the way they structured it in the 1950s.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, it seems like a problem that would have been very difficult to fix because basically that family would have had to give up some shared ownership with other, individuals and families and leagues or teams rather, which, if you control all of the tracks, then why would you give that up? Seemingly.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. They don't. So the way it did get fixed in F1's case, they had the exact same thing happen in F1. Was the guy who organized the race, the whole league early on, Bernie Ecclestone. He sold out for $4 billion to Liberty Media, and Liberty is actually intelligent and didn't do stupid stuff. So,
and they killed it with that Netflix series. That's what just, I think, put it over the edge of like, you would hear a lot about F1 and then that happened. And it was like, I would have friends who had never talked about F1 before spending $5,000 to go to Vegas to like watch the race.
Yeah.
So
they totally do.
Well, Mitchell's here.
Yeah. Let's. Is he still there? Yeah, there he is. I'll click his button. Oh man,
howdy. He's here, I think. Wait, I can't hear you.
No, can't hear me either. You know what would help us hear him if he was using Quo.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, I just turned Quo on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was just saying thank you for bringing me in right after the Confederate flag segment. That was an easy.
Yeah, unintentional. And welcome. Good to have you here.
I traded mine in a while back, so I couldn't have it hanging
2016,
behind me.
2017. Yeah.
In 2017.
100 years too late,
My
just like
grandpappy.
them banning it in the NASCAR. Well, good to have you here. Do you want to give folks a quick overview of yourself, your businesses, and then we'll dive in?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Mitchell Baldridge. I'm Houston, Texas, CPA, financial planner. At worked out of college in a kind of regular public accounting career, and about almost 15 years ago, just on firm when I was pretty young, and worked for myself, and then have grown that firm and taken on a partner eventually. Have another business called Better Bookkeeping, a software as a service bookkeeping, tax planning, tax prep system, and then another business called RE Cost Seg, where we do cost segregation studies for real estate. I'm trying to grow up and be like Girdley with my own mini holdco. But
that's the goal.
So yeah. Anything else about myself? I love long walks on the beach, and
that's good.
We just been growing these. Go on Twitter, writing a book, Win the Tax Game, which comes out early next year. And
what made you want to add writing a book onto the long list of things that you're working on?
Oh shoot. That's a good question. As in all these threads, the whole thing's really ephemeral. The newsletter is really ephemeral, and there are principal elements of how taxes work and how finances work that I thought could be high quality and enduring enough to be worth putting out there. So, that there's tax books out there. There's a recent one of tax retirement planning that a guy, Cody Garrett, wrote with another fellow that came out a couple of weeks ago. But there is not a tax category killer since Tax-Free Wealth. Tom Wheelwright wrote it, who's like Kawasaki's CPA, famously, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy. But I started writing about taxes online about 5 years ago, and to my surprise, people found it interesting. A very certain type of person, but and so the more and more I've written, I've said, hey, there's enough ideas here that aren't just about the changes in code over the next 18 months, but are principled ideas that I want to just bump into one thing.
Cool.
So it's really also just frankly a marketing tool. Like it should be the love letter to the Better Bookkeeping client, as I see it. Just bringing them in, bringing them on board, and
you mentioned that there's a very specific type of person who's interested in learning about taxes. Are these rich people, business owners, some combination of both, I imagine?
Yeah, I mean, most people don't pay taxes, so and then most people don't pay taxes at a really high level, and so it's not a high TAM idea. I don't think it's ever going to be the James Clear Atomic Habits market size of just like, my mom came to me last year and she was like, have you heard of James Clear? So I DM'd James Clear. I'm like, you've made it, James Clear.
My mom knows you.
My mom just asked about you. And, I don't think my mom is the reader of my tax threads, but the good news is it's a really, obviously a high value audience. But when you get to the bottom of niche business content, you can find a small but high value market. And I don't know, Girdley, how many people now recognize you on the streets as you walk through San Antonio, now that you're famous on YouTube? Are you being mobbed?
Not as much. I get it occasionally. I was down in South America, and like a Belgian guy came up to me and he goes, "Do you make videos on YouTube?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I watched your video. I recognize your jacket." I was like, "Oh, wow." So, but yeah, that happens. That used to happen a lot more with Twitter. Now it happens with YouTube much more.
I'd get recognized maybe. I got recognized in the airport in July, and I was wearing an Ari Kosek hat, so that kind of tipped it off.
That helps.
Maybe.
Well, I just realized that
helps.
Girdley's tag under his face says Chris Bakke. So when people,
oh no,
when people see him now, they're going to be like, "You're Chris Bakke from Business Builders." That's good.
Especially because you have the avatar that doesn't really, depict anything. I mean, it does have hair, to be fair, on the avatar, but so all the haters are going to come attack you.
Well, now, Michael. I mean, because Michael's YouTube channel is blowing up from profiling failed or failing businesses, if you see him outside of your business, it's over. Like if Girdley is standing outside of your company with a camera, it means your business is failing.
He's saying, and at the end, I'll tell you why I'm in front of this Whataburger.
Exactly.
I did do Build-A-Bear that went out yesterday, and they're like a huge success. They've outperformed NVIDIA stock over the past 5 years. And I went with my nephews, and I spent $118 to buy 2 teddy bears, and I can tell you why their stock is doing so well. So I'm just not doing failures anymore, Chris. I'm also occasionally doing winners.
Okay. But the Build-A-Bear store manager was like, "Oh God, why is he here? Is this going to be a highlight or is this going to be, the 90% low lights?" That's good. I know that you've wanted to get out of the failure and slump businesses for a while and talk about people that are doing well. So
I would totally talk about failures the whole time.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I did some wins is because the commenters are like, "You have to do some wins or I'm going to kill you." And I'm trying not to get killed this week.
You're like, do I keep my hat on? Is it off? Is it failure? What do I have to do to keep you people happy? So
speaking of wins, Mitchell, I wanted to go through and hear the story from you of Ari Kosek, because I think it's fascinating. Like, you guys have found like an amazing niche.
Yep.
So if you're okay with it, like, I'd love to
Sure.
to hear the story of it. Maybe you could start with, like, what does the business look like today? Just like size of it, like anything you're comfortable kind of quantifying for us. I'm fascinated as to where it is. And then I definitely want to hear like how it all came together.
Yeah, we don't have too much to gain by telegraphing market size too much, but Nick does it on. So my starting at the beginning, I got on Twitter by knowing Nick Huber and had worked with Nick Huber as his accountant, but pre-Twitter back in the Reddit days. And, had worked with him for a couple years, and about 3 years ago today, we started this business. And so fast forward to today, we have 100, I think, full-time employees in, America, South America, South Africa, Philippines, Sri Lanka. We're kind of fully remote and fully dispersed, and we have now, offshore executive talent, offshore sales talent, offshore engineering. So we've grown this business to be a really, really good business and quality product. And we've had some tailwinds. July 4th, they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, and that made bonus depreciation permanent and 100%. And so that's been a big bump, certainly. But what this was a product that costs $12,000 that was only available for certain types of buildings and had a limited payback, kind of had a limited value prop unless you were a $30 million kind of office building and what we did, and just to kind of like talk about what we do. We work for real estate investors. We provide an engineering report that's kind of tax adjacent that allows an investor to bring forward the tax benefits of the real estate that they buy. We effectively look at a building as it sits and break it into its component pieces and give those pieces a value in a tax life. And so, all the big accounting firms do this. There's several specialty engineering firms in the US, and we started from nothing basically with Twitter marketing, and then I've moved to other marketing channels, organic growth, SEO. We have a bunch of customer referrals now. And so it's become its own monster. It's by far the biggest business that I'm involved with today.
So to kind of go back to before it started. So you were Nick's accountant, right? That's how you guys got together. Yep. And so he encouraged you to get on Twitter. So you're writing tax advice on Twitter. It's helping your business. So how did the idea come about of, okay, we're going to build this cost segregation business, service business? Like how did the concept come together?
So Nick he was using someone on Twitter, and Nick at that point had captured, was referring somewhere and was getting a bunch of referral credits from somewhere, but to his credit had figured out, oh, I need to own some of this. It's great if they pay me 15% or they pay me $1,000, but I am growing the enterprise value of this business tremendously, and I should have some carry in the business. And so he negotiated with Marshall to get a chunk of the business over some chunk of time. And then he tried to go do that with a cost seg provider, and it just didn't work out. And he came to me and said, hey, let's just start one. And I said, let's freaking go. And so to my wife's credit, she was the first kind of operator in the business, and it was me and Nick and my wife, and then we hired 3 guys, and 2 of the 3 guys still work with us today and are on the executive team. But it was a containerized product. There's this thing called the Audit Technique Guide for cost segregation studies. The IRS basically as to like how they audit the product. And so we engineered the process by kind of like looking at competitor businesses, and then by working our way through the IRS Audit Technique Guide. We just got to sell, and got to selling, got to working, got to selling more, got to working more, and the process over time to what it is.
And so this was in 2022, you said, like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And what was the decision? Because you mentioned, you said like a lot of the big firms do cost seg. I guess going back to those early days, you were doing, I presume, just sort of like all the general accounting stuff for Nick. Like why? Obviously, there was a specific need around cost segregation, but there were clearly specific needs around bookkeeping and general accounting and like tax advice and lots of other things. Like I guess what made maybe outside of Nick's background as a real estate developer and investor, like what made cost seg sort of like the interesting thing to have as like a sort of siloed service offering?
Well, like at that time, or we launched cost seg first, and we tried to do like R&D credits and ERC credits, and it just never took off the same way. Like there was just an immediate like market pull for the product. Like it's this educational experience of like everyone's kind of heard of an R&D credit. Like at the time, it was 2022 already. Like the ERC thing was pretty played out. Like I should have gotten on that day one, and I would have won if I could have had the opportunity to like educate the market. But what we did was led with this content of like, here's how bonus depreciation works. Here's how it works if you're a business owner. Here's how it works if you're a real estate investor. Here's what it means to you. And like we would work with large syndicators who own like 20 properties who somehow didn't even understand that this was available. And at the beginning, we're like capturing these pretty big engagements and pushing through tax savings to their investors that were extraordinary. So we were able to sell these big jobs right up front. So, why that? Like, there's a couple of good elements of the business. It's a pretty like containerized product. Like when I say, hey, Chris, I'm going to be your CPA, now I'm like kind of responsible for your whole life and your like grandma and your grandkids and like all the, all this kind of like legacy planning. Or you come to me and you say like, hey, I live in Washington State and this new sales tax has hit for this thing. And like, you just kind of have to know infinity versus like cost segregation. You very much narrow the scope of what you must understand, and you can get to the bottom of it. And so to me, as I like, if I were to roll out analog services around that, it's more attractive if they can be more and more compartmentalized. And the other benefit of it is you're like selling tax savings on the jump. ERC and R&D, you're like, hey, I'll sell you free money. Just bend over and pick it up, and I'll take a little rake out of the middle. It's more simple than me going, hey, Chris, I'm going to sell you my time and it's $800 an hour, but here's why it's worth it. Like that's a less attractive offer.
So early on, so you guys have a proven distribution channel. This was peak thread era on Twitter. So if you guys want to just get more customers, you or Nick just writes a thread on cost seg. And then Nick had seen, okay, like I should be capturing more than a 10% referral fee. Like I should be capturing much more of this because my threads are making this business work, when he was referring this to other folks.
Yeah.
So then you guys say, okay, well, let's build the business ourselves. And the key thing there, your wife, she decides to jump in as like the first operator, like doing the business. You hire a couple people and then you just keep writing threads and getting more business. Is that kind of that first?
Yeah, I mean, we built a sales team that was effectively order takers. Like our first 15 salespeople were order takers, and we built an engineering team in a pretty organized, structured way where, I mean, today we have 30 engineers, and that team kind of like scales itself and has really, really a really processed approach by how they go to this. But yeah, so at the beginning, it just kind of, I don't like, there's some things where I don't know that I could just do this again and again and again. Like you have to catch a tailwind. You have to be in a market at the right time. You have to have, like we grew that RE Cossack account to like 50,000 followers. Like you can't grow an account like that to 50,000 followers today.
Yeah.
Like ever, or I guess, chase passive leads, Hunter cold calls can do it in its own way. But even then it's a much less, quality follower if you grow that way than how we were.
Good luck monetizing those followers. So,
yeah.
So then it's really just like in the second year, right? You're just taking orders like crazy. The real challenge sounds like it's just how do you hold the wheels on the bus in the face of demand just coming at you? And at this point, like the Twitter as a lead channel is still working as you go into kind of year two.
I think so. Yeah. And we hired a young guy from another cost seg firm in the US who was one of our first kind of like key US hires. And he was he was like, there were maybe one of 3 people in the world who we could have hired who had this guy's kind of like skill set of understanding how to build models, how the whole system worked, and how to kind of like true up engineering and quality control. And so that was a huge break. I mean, we had sold all this work and frankly, like didn't know how we were going to get it done. We hired this guy through, we hired a recruiter, found this guy, hired this guy. At one point he got kind of cold feet and backed out, came back in, and he worked with us for until the middle of this year, but was a fantastic kind of building block piece for us, which really helped us grow and just kind of, while not like scaling the engineering team per se, like building the process for how we get the work done. And so it's always been for us, like, how do you grow sales? And then how do you grow the system to catch the sales? And how do you not break one of these as you're trying to grow them both? And, you know, so yeah, in 23, probably Twitter's still working. And then, you know, at some point it just became, again, like kind of, we were advertising on the Fort podcast that worked for a while. And, you know, Chris stopped doing as many episodes and has kind of pivoted his content a bit, and he got Ramp as a sponsor. So I don't think he, that happened. But you know, but that was, I mean, awesome. And then we've gotten some great, just like, you know, I've been connected in real estate for a long time. And it was also kind of one of those things where when we built it up enough, now we can walk into ICSC or any like industry conference and with a straight face be like, you should use us. We are a professional service. We're not faking it till we make it. We're the real deal. Get on board. And people talk about us now the way they talk about these specialty engineering firms. You know, we're just in the mix. So
yeah. And so then in terms of, you know, you and Nick and your wife, I guess, own the business together. Is that how y'all are the partners in it?
Nick's partner in Bolt is a partner.
Got it.
As well.
And so, but none of you guys are taking, who's doing all the work? Like obviously Nick's writing tweets and working on a bunch of different stuff. You've got a bunch of businesses. So in terms of like 23, 24 early on, like who's actually running the business? Like, do you guys have titles around that kind of stuff? How are you thinking about it?
You know, so my wife left in probably about a year and a half ago. She was effectively the CEO, and then we hired a CEO outside of the business. We hired Zach Prince from BlockFi, which was a fun kind of side quest in the business. And Zach's a great guy. He ended up leaving earlier this year because he went to go work for Galaxy. Mike Novogratz, crypto called back and dropped a big bag of money on top of his head, I think. And, you know, made him a great offer. And so, you know, basically today we work as a board, me, Nick, Dan, Melanie. We have a COO inside of the company. We have a head of sales. We have a head of engineering. We have a head of customer service. We have a head of partnerships. And so we kind of work to, we're still heavily investing in growth and trying a bunch of different things in kind of every one of these departments. We're building an engineering app. We're, you know, running a bunch of marketing experiments, I guess I would say. We're actively trying to grow partnerships through property managers, CPAs. We're trying to grow sales. We're gonna, as we've found some scale, it starts to make sense to go do a lot of the things that our competitors have done all along. That, like, we haven't gone to a ICSC. We still haven't. We've never like gone to an industry sales conference and just sent 3 brokers and rented a booth and got a backdrop and just started selling the way that everyone else sells out there. So for better or worse.
Around, by 2023, like late 23, early 24, I think from my very outsider's perspective, 2 or 3 big headwind things start happening. So one is, Elon buys Twitter, the algorithm starts changing a lot, like different things start getting prioritized in terms of like, it's super easy to grow followers, and now it's extremely hard. Like you were talking about some of the account growth, on the RE cost seg side. So that's one thing. And then, the bigger, arguably like macro thing is like, rate changes, and some of that tailwinds then into this like storm of the algorithm is changing, rates are going from 2.5 to 4 to 4.5 to 6, and then I think around that time you also you mentioned Chris Powers, who is a good friend of I think all of us, but like you see accounts like that maybe starting to do less real estate focused content. People are starting to do fewer deals. Like, I guess talk about that time period. What was happening there as you were thinking about like, continuing to invest in the business and scale it sort of in the face of all that?
Yeah. A bunch of things stopped. A bunch of things got harder. Certainly. It got harder to grow on Twitter, but by then I think we had inoculated ourselves, or we just kind of like, we've had flat Twitter growth or just flat Twitter production for a really long time. And that's been okay, because we were already working other channels. I mean, at some point you knew that Jeremiah Lancaster just tweeted me and said, "Oh, I'll work on that." That's good. No, so at some point we were we were poised to like understand that same button, you just hit that button over and over and over again, and one day you hit it and it just doesn't work like it used to, and that was okay. But yeah, so interest rates went up. Looking at that like 10-year treasury chart is just insane. Like if you go look at the 5-year 10-year treasury chart, it's not talked about enough. And so real estate started to really suck. People couldn't buy anything that they were buying back when money was free, and bonus depreciation stepping down, and it might go away forever. But one thing they had done in 2017, with the Tax Cuts Jobs Act, is they made it so that used property could be cost segregated and bonus depreciated. Before that, it was only new development. So that expanded the market so greatly that it's just like infinity market expansion of every sale qualifies for this product, as opposed to only brand new development. So think about the TAM growth of new development delivered to market versus every sale ever. So even with no bonus, I was confident we could do well about that, but obviously with bonus, way better. So I think we had the benefit during that time of just being a young growing company that like, look, we might have grown more, or we would have grown more with a ton of tailwinds, but we were growing against headwinds. And so that it just frankly, maybe we didn't even need to grow faster. Like, and it, or we would have done fine, but it just was all right. So I don't know what the new world order of, I mean, we've seen growth since the One Big Beautiful Bill, but I don't know when real estate picks up, and if real estate ever picks up again, and with bonus depreciation coming back, what that looks like. We haven't run a full cycle of that, but it's promising.
So you guys made the decision, I guess it was in early 24 or late 23, to bring on Zach, which was like, came in and took over from Melanie, the best I can understand in terms of CEO in the business. So Zach is an interesting choice. Like, he's never CEO'd an agency, productized agency like what you guys are doing. He's a crypto guy. He's from San Antonio, which like is a huge W.
Yeah.
So I know him. He's friends of friends.
It really is, actually.
So,
Yes.
so what, and how did that go down? Like, how did you guys decide to make that decision, and why him?
I mean, that's the great Nick Huber. He goes on to Twitter and he says, "We need a CEO." And it's also, this has been the learning development of Nick, and the learning development of me informs a lot of our choices. Where, like, if we knew everything we knew today and we're applying that from the very beginning, we would have probably grown. We would have made obviously a ton of different choices along the way, but we knew what we knew. And with all of that meant to us, when we needed a CEO, Nick goes on to Twitter and says, "Hey, RE Costeg's growing. We need a CEO. We're looking." And we talked to Zach Prince. We talked to a bunch of other really impressive people. And with Zach, Nick ran it pretty far along. I knew Zach for a week or two before, we worked. The first thing we did was structure this whole deal about how we were going to basically build a CEO comp package. And, there was a lesson there of like, that was a really good process and an easy process. And Zach was wildly impressive through that whole thing. And going from Melanie, who was so operations focused, to Zach, who is effectively a like S tier, just like B2B sales guy, was interesting, and like kind of what became a priority and what we were going to go do and how our company was going to grow and what partnerships were going to mean and all that. And, and then he was here about a year and then blew out, and we've kept a lot of the things that Zach implemented. And then obviously some priorities have shifted since he's gone. But, bringing him in, it was just like, I remember right during all that, right when we had announced, people were going, why would you hire that guy? And blah, blah, blah. And I saw at the founders conference in Austin, David Center's conference, I saw, the great Sam Hinkie, former GM for the 76ers. And he was like, "Deep value. You got it. Good choice." And it's like, we had the chance to hire a guy who just, we never could have hired. And it was a fantastic experience to work with a guy who had just seen as much as him. That was the other thing, is we were in this kind of wild growth phase, and Zach was unfazed by anything that was going on with us, because he had just been through the ringer.
Nobody saw like the rise of like lots of users signing up for a thing like crypto guys from 2018 to 2022. It's like,
I mean, the rise and talk about the rise and fall, Michael Gertz, about BlockFi and what he went through. And I mean, just that. So, anything that, any kind of stressful day we were going to have over here was not going to phase them. And so that was,
I'm going to put that on my list. Yeah. So, no, I have a whole spreadsheet. I'm like, oh, I need to go look at this company.
You mentioned something a few times, which I think I find very fascinating, because I think it's one of these like seemingly impossible things to ever perfect. But it's kind of this like, in any business you have, I think especially these, service businesses or agency or productized services type businesses, you have this like balance between, marketing spend and diversification with like the sales and order taking and expanding existing accounts and all of that. And then the actual like, functional side of like doing the task or getting something done. I guess like you've seen this now across like tons of people's businesses, being their accountant, and now building and scaling like several of your companies. Like, were there like big lessons learned that you feel like you guys either got right or didn't get right, but sort of have adjusted, especially around like the cost seg business, to sort of balance those things out of like demand is ever changing, marketing tactics are ever changing. And so like, how do you keep this like seemingly like semi-flexible, offering and workforce, like as the company, continues to grow?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the partnership has been really important and really effective in that, like, I hope Nick feels that I add as much value as I feel that he does, but of him having just like this go, 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 drive, 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 and me sometimes, a lot of times being like, whoa, break, 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 hold on, quality, quality. And it's not that I don't think he doesn't care about quality. I think he deeply cares about quality, but he knows that will get figured out. And to me, the quality element is like always going to be a hassle for me. So we are misaligned. Where globally we are extremely aligned, but in the moment, when he goes and makes an offer, or when he goes and blows up the business, it becomes a lot of work for a lot of people. And so having to try to have that all centered in one person is pretty tricky, of knowing how to pull all those levers at once. So I think partners can help, which, partners get a bad rap for a good reason, I think. But yeah, it's always trying to go, and in a business where this is just kind of like blue sky, green field, like we don't have like a 36-month plan. We don't know. So you're just, again, trying all these sales and process experiments where like, and the market's changing from under us. Like 2 years ago, we wouldn't have told you that we need to build a cost seg engineering app and then a full-on super app to run the proposal process, run the sales process, serve as a monday.com kind of internal, task management system, prepare the study, deliver the study, collect, manage accounts receivable. Like today you can do all that and it's not $1 million. I mean, you can go build an app like that and it's not going to happen in a weekend, but it's like technically possible in a way that you just wouldn't have been doing 5 years ago. So like we're seeing all these developments come together of frankly, ways we can go into the market, and then ways we can improve the process, and then the business is growing. So that all lends itself to be a pretty good deal, where we hit this shoulder season every June and we go, all right, well, we're now like selling less than we're collecting. Things are about to slow down, but we can kind of like bake in the next leg of growth. And we've just been fortunate where we always go to like our head engineer and we're like, hey, we're about to hit the slow season. It's time to let people go. And he's like, I don't want to let anyone go. I don't want to go have to hire all these people back. Like I can't hire people as good as the people I have. And we're like, all right, as you were then.
So earlier this year, Zach gets an offer he can't refuse and leaves after about a year as CEO. So what did you guys do next after that? Like, how did you respond to that? Because, usually most people go hire a new CEO, but you guys didn't do that. So how did that all go down?
We haven't done that yet. And like, we'll have another CEO, but we hired an operation. Melanie jumped back in. So we have a 1-year-old boy who's turning 1 tomorrow. So Melanie was kind of 6 months. That was a big, reason for her just being like, I gotta pass this off before we have our third kid. And so we had hired Zach, and when Zach left, it was time for her to come back and fill in some of the operations. And again, Zach wasn't like an operations guy, so we didn't lose operations when Zach left. We had that and taken care of a lot of that. So what we lost was Zach was head of sales, so we hired a head of sales and started growing the sales team. We hired a COO. we hired a head of partnerships. So we've made, but Zach was a US guy who was pulling a huge salary, and we went and hired a bunch of executive level real winners from South Africa. And so it all kind of worked out in that sense too. And, I mean, Girdley, you can talk a lot to that, but we've had a great experience of this offshore exec team. And then we started some new kind of marketing initiatives. So we kind of pulled CEO back into the board, which is tricky because it's a bunch of people work in a bunch of different directions, but we've kind of set growth imperatives both on product development and on marketing and on the quality of the business. And then and we just had people kind of willing to step up and take that role, it felt like. But I don't think we've had our like last CEO. Somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you guys think you take it from here?
I mean, I think we can continue to one thing we've done a good job of is like expanding the bottom of the market, or the market's expanding on its own. And then we built a product, like our base product is this $950 rapid report. It's, data driven, engineer reviewed. It's a modeled study that's reviewed by an engineer and kind of quality controlled and delivered. And so there's no level of like that quality of product for that price in the market. And for anything anybody would say about what we're doing at RE Cosseg, they don't really say we're doing a bad job. They'd love to. So like that's become this kind of like core thing that we're doing. So we've raised prices as we've professionalized and as we've hired and scaled and hired a big management team and increased overhead. We're building kind of the middle of the product tier through this engineering app. We're going to go more high tier. We just hired a CPA in the US who's, worked for one of the big firms and would get on airplanes and do data center cost segs and all of the kind of high ticket stuff that you could think about. And we're going to do. So I think there's just more market to capture. Like I think we can double just by doing what we're doing. We may be able to double twice doing just what we're doing. And then, I mean, then you're left to go like, do we want to go back to do R&D credit studies? Do we want to like sell something else through our customer base? Like the big knock on this business is that it's not a recurring service, and there's not really like a recurring thing that I would feel great about selling into the client base. It is certainly reoccurring in this natural basis that clients who buy just tend to buy and buy and buy. And, there's a good like flywheel of referrals. We do a good job. We incentivize referrals, but like, so what's next, I think, is keep growing. I don't know if that's a good answer, but
yeah. Well, you're throwing off cash, so it's hard not to like that. So
I mean, yeah, there's like, I feel like there's a lot more levers we can pull, and there's a lot more growth we can do just out of what we have. That, again, the experience of trying to go do a couple more things, Girdley, more than I do, but the holdco might have been a ZERP phenomenon. Like, like just these businesses are like, a lot of people, Nick wrote a huge post pretty recently about here are the 12 businesses I started, and here are the 3 that I've killed so far, and here are the 9 that are left, and here's what they're doing. And, the wins seem to, the 80-20 rule is real. And so I think we just keep doubling down on the things that work until they stop working. And, but yeah, so we're going to keep, like, I think we're going to build this business more and more and more so that I really do want to build a product platform that kind of like encapsulates the entire business. And that's an investment, but I think it pays off. And we have some, I think we can go to the AI CPA conference and start capturing CPAs. Like we haven't even done that yet. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Have you guys done any M&A with this business? Obviously there's sort of the organic growth and then the acquired growth side of it. Does that happen much in this space, or, is that an option for you guys?
We looked at one earlier this year, and it's just kind of like, private equity is surrounding CPA firms in general. I mean, Josh Kushner is out there with $500 million trying to buy up CPA firms and push AI into all of them. And 5 years ago, selling your CPA you were going to get 1x revenue. If you had a decent firm, you were going to get 0.6 if you had a total crap box, and you were going to get 1.25 on the high end. And today, like, you're going to get 1 to 1.25 for junk. And if you have something really good, you're going to get more than that, or you're going to go trade on an EBITDA multiple for something like a better bookkeeping. Hopefully that's a monthly retainer kind of productized service. So yeah, it's hard to go buy stuff. To me, when you go buy something like that, you're going to either buy the people or the process or the customers. And then you have to say, well, I'm not really buying the people. I'm not, because we have a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really buying the process because I think we have the gold standard of process. And to make our process better, I just want to hire people to improve my process.
Yep.
And so I'm buying the revenue. And I think, I don't know. I think we could probably acquire revenue cheaper than that multiple. So ultimately, if we were going to go sell in 2 years and it were accretive, and I can buy at 6x and sell at 12x, like I would think about that. But I've never bought a business. I went on with Girdley to Acquisitions Anonymous and was like, hey, I wouldn't buy anything ever. And it didn't make for great pod, but or maybe it did.
It's a good take.
Like,
It
what
was
are we
the
doing
most
here?
watched. It was the most watched episode we did that day.
That was it. Yeah. And but it's just like, wait, let me challenge this premise of buying businesses. I called the top is what I
Your
did.
whole podcast is garbage, Girdley.
I love it, but I'm not like a risk taker in that sense of just like, hey guys, we can go keep hammering. So yeah, I think M&A's tricky right now because I think probably in accounting, it's better to build really, really good businesses than buy businesses today. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I think AI is going to have a humongous, maybe I'm just saying something completely obvious, but AI is going to have an extraordinary impact in these businesses over the next 5 years. It's unquestionable to me. So I don't know what that means, but
it sounds good in a clip,
I know, but like
posting the clip until it goes viral. And yeah,
what is going to happen? Like, or something's going to happen in 5 years ago, 5 years from today. We're going to look back to today and be like, oh, that was so obvious. And but I don't know what it is. So that doesn't exactly make me any money, but like,
let me know if you find it. I'll do the same.
Okay,
we'll let each other in early. I know we're approaching time here. I think the sort of look under the early days of the hood of a now fantastic business is always super interesting to the people listening to this. So appreciate that. And I guess if people want to work with you or your companies, both the cost seg side or other businesses that you have, I guess what's the best way to find you, find these companies? How do people get in touch?
MitchellBaldridge.com would have like oh my gosh, creative planning's buying they're buying my my keyword. I love that. So Baldridge Financials, our accounting firm. Better Bookkeeping's the kind of productized bookkeeping service. But just go to MitchellBaldridge.com and you can kind of work with me and go down a little rabbit trail as to how we can best work together. And follow me on X, Baldridge CPA. That's when I tweet. That's where I tweet.
Hey, pushing 100,000, man.
You know, I have been for a while. Growth is tricky.
I've gained like 300 followers in the past 2 months.
I've lost 200 in the past 2 months, probably. But
you're gonna lose another 200 for being on this live stream. But that's my fault.
No, I appreciate y'all having me on, and it's awesome what y'all are doing. And
despite X's growth challenges, we somehow have 5,000 to 5,300 people just on X, and then like 4 on LinkedIn from this. So it's pretty good.
Shout out to the LinkedIn crew.
Shout out LinkedIn. Well, cool. Thanks for coming on, man. This is super interesting. Learned a lot, and hopefully have you back on, and we can do another breakdown of one of your other companies. So
let me know. No, thank you. Y'all take care. Appreciate y'all having me on. See
ya.
Super cool story.
Yeah. It's crazy how many. I mean, I know you have several. I had 1 or 2, depending on how you count it. He obviously has several. Huber has like 9. Like the people that were just tweeting a lot in 2021, and like the amount of money that generated if you created a company around your content in that period was incredible. Right. There's just so many people. I mean, half the people that maybe all the people we've had on the show, to some extent have, sort of grew their Twitter following around that time. And if they didn't have a business like Mitchell did, they created a business or businesses around the thing that was just being talked about in sort of mainstream discussion. And I mean, some of these businesses are doing, millions, fewer are doing tens of millions, but there's several out there that are doing tens of millions a year in revenue. So
yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Well, and that era's gone. Like I was just reflecting, like, I was like, I don't think the algo showed me a Nick Huber tweet in weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like the follower count part of the algorithm is gone, so I don't know. Maybe I just need to do more arguing on the internet.
Yeah. Just make people angry, be angrier, make more people angry. I was thinking, I think somebody needs to try Clubhouse again. That was fun.
Oh God. God. All right. Well, that's your next idea. All right. Can I do something fun with you that I haven't done yet?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Guess what showed up?
Whoa.
It's my 100,000.
That's pretty quick because they get it out to you fast, huh?
Yeah, it showed up like a week ago while I was out of town.
Ooh, that's shiny. That's amazing.
Backwards, but yeah. No, that's there's something weirdly emotional about it because it's really freaking hard. Like so much work to do it, and you have to have like a passion and just a grind. Like they're so smart that they do this. And I think it's fascinating to watch X lose all of its gamification against the backdrop of YouTube, which for a creator like X, like the gamification of X is gone. Like the whole like dopamine hit you would get and okay, all that, like it's gone. But YouTube has it dialed in. Like, and I've talked about it before. Like every morning I wake up and one of the first things I do is go there in the app for YouTube, go look, and they've used AI to pull out people saying nice things about my videos, and they put them at the top of the comments, and I can read them every morning. There's 3 of them every morning. Like then there'll be one again at night. It happens every day.
That's crazy.
And, like there's something weirdly emotional about that, where you're just like, this like $3, like it's not even real metal. It's
Right.
plastic. Like it's a piece of crap. But like there's something emotional about it. YouTube has it nailed. That's why they're winning for sure.
Yep. What are the milestone plaques? Is there another one at 250 or at 500?
There's one at 100, a million. So this is the 100. There's a million. There is 10 million and 100 million. Those are your plaques. Yeah. So we're at 130,000.
I know. Yeah, I know that I think they had to like, didn't they have to like, they did some custom, was it like the diamond design for Mr. Beast when he crossed like 100 or something?
There's 100 million, the 100 million one, there's like 10 channels that have done it, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a red diamond.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That's a Mr. Beast, T Series, all those guys. I don't know. If 100 million people want to see me walk in a forest talking about why Build-A-Bear Workshop is going great, then we have bigger problems than that kind of stuff.
I mean, there's 100 million people that want to watch a pilot sit in a grounded plane for 55 days. So, you know, anything is possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just pulled up my stuff. 4,300 people an hour are watching my videos right now.
Wild.
It's nuts.
Wild.
It's just totally nuts. So Panera Bread is going really well. 700 people an hour, 10 people a minute.
That's insane. That's more people than eat at Panera, I think. More than their entire global customer base in a given 60-minute segment.
So do you want to talk a little bit about this, how I did this format?
Yeah. What was good, bad, about it?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
I thought it was really good. I think we keep doing it. I think over time, people will understand kind of how the format works, where you're just like, okay, and then what happened? And then what happened? And then what happened? It's sometimes with interviews, if you're doing a behavioral interview, it takes people a few reps to kind of understand what you're doing.
Yep.
But I think it creates really interesting content. So
I liked it. It was good. The riff with just the two of us at the beginning was also fun. We need that occasionally as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how we schedule these. Do we do 15 minutes of riff and then 45 minutes of like a deep dive moving forward?
I think that works.
Yeah.
Let me read to you one of the comments before we leave. Girdley did the shaved head and beard thing, looking much more badass now. Chris just looks like a frat boy.
Hell yeah. I don't know what that means. I was in a fraternity, so I'll take that as a compliment.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with a new guest. Do you want to you want to talk about something really near and dear to our hearts? Quo?
Yeah. So did you hear that OpenPhone rebranded to Quo? And last week they announced $105 million in new funding to fuel rapid product innovation and customer growth. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Well, so OpenPhone, which is now called Quo, right here on my bookshelf, is the same powerful phone system, but with a new name. And so if you're still running your business on an old clunky phone system, this is the perfect time to switch. Business owners know when you miss a call, you're not just missing a conversation, you're losing revenue. Quo is the modern alternative. It's designed to help you work smarter, build stronger relationships, and never miss an opportunity. With Quo, you get one flexible app on your phone or computer to run your business from anywhere. You can text clients, record calls, get AI summaries, and it integrates with tools like HubSpot and Slack to streamline your workflows and automations. You can also have Quo's AI agent answer after hours so you never miss a lead again. Quo is rated what do you think they are? Number 10, number 9? What would you guess?
Yeah, I mean, 10, 12, 15.
They're the number 1 business phone system. And they don't have 3 stars on G2. They don't have 4 stars. They have 4.7 stars across 3,000 reviews on G2. And they're trusted by 90,000 businesses and counting. So Quo is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/builders. That's QUO.com/builders. And if you have an existing number with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
I give you the best live ad read today. I think you outdid me.
I didn't. I wasn't as over the top with it as 2 weeks ago. So.
Let me show you this, that perhaps we're onto something with how I did this format. That is a rarity. Like somebody being like remarkable session.
Yeah.
Like that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. All right. Well, we'll figure.
We just got, I mean, it's not a ton, but we had, like 10 comments this week. I think usually we average like 2 or 3 unique comments per week. So that was good.
Plus somebody thinks I'm attractive. So
and somebody thinks I'm a frat guy.
Keg stand.
And then he wanted to come on. Tim, we'll have to talk. We'll talk about it. We'll see. I did actually look him up, and I think he might have an interesting business. I think he's like rolling up like pool cleaning companies or something. So
he's from San Antonio.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sign up for Quo, Tim, and we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good job.